Hello, dear colleagues. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on the time of the day of your geographical position. My name is Irina Voronkina. I'm the General Director of GloBAS Group company, international business development agency since 2006. And today the topic of our discussion will be how to do business in Russia. Let me first of all share with you with the suggested content of our discussion. I will do a brief overview who we are and why are we competent to talk about the Russian market. We'll talk about Russia a little bit, also in the aspect of current economical and political conditions. Then let's talk about your products, projects, services which you would like to expand potentially to the Russian market. What options could be used for your particular business development? And to finish our discussion today, I'll be happy to share some tips and recommendations about doing business in Russia. So let's start. About our company, GloBAS Group helps foreign businesses to enter their sales, to expand their sales in Russia and in CIS countries, mean former territory of USSR. We are doing this since 2006. Our headquarters is based in St. Petersburg, Russia. Our main specialization is negotiation support that includes sales of different kind, marketing, and any type of communications. Historically, I'm the founder of the company and my first degree is mechanical engineering. So our key vertical specialization is industrial goods, machinery, automotive, engineering, IT, electronics, and all kind of technically complicated projects. However, as we are using specific methodology to help companies to go abroad, in fact, what we will be talking about today can be applicable to any vertical part of the business. As I mentioned, our key specialization is Russian market and CIS, but since several years ago, we have expanded ourselves, and besides the Russian market, we can also help companies to develop their business to China, to Europe, to USA, or to United Arab Emirates. But this is a story for a different call. So let's talk about Russia. So you can see some figures here, and definitely everybody understands Russia is a huge country. We cover 10 time zones. Population of the country is over 146 million people. Territory over 70 square kilometers, and GDP over $4.5 trillion US. So the market perspective is really huge. So why not yet all the companies are here in this market? So it is, has a really great potential and seems to be so wide and so diversified. Because that's a typical thought that that is complicated to come to Russia. And Russian market is not applicable to all the products. So let's talk a little bit about these things. Before you do any investments to develop your sales in Russia or in any other market as well, definitely a particular questions should be answered. First of all, who is your target audience? And that's definitely critical to check if the demand for your particular product or services exists in Russia. Normally, To tell very briefly, most probably it exists because, again, Russia is a huge country. In Russia, we also have the same people, same processes in every other part of the world. Russia is very uh, technically developing market, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But what are the simple methods which you can use for checking if the Russian market is applicable for your products or maybe not? Well, a very obvious thing. Let's have a look at your competitors. First of all, definitely all of you know your competitors globally on your local market and in the international markets where you are already working. So check their positions here in Russia. When we are doing our job, we are always starting with a search market, with a brief market screen, and where we are checking definitely the market size in the particular vertical, market trends, but then the very critical thing is to check competition. So if your competitors from other regions, they are already in Russia, that means definitely that the market for your products also exists in Russia. Normally, what makes sense to check how these competitors of your company are represented in Russia. Are they represented with a local subsidiary or are they represented with the channel sales partners? Uh, if they are represented with a subsidiary, that is a very good sign that the market is really big for your type of products. In Russia, the information about the turnover for the past years and about the number of employees of the company and about the year of foundation of the company and about the shareholders of the company and about any legal cases and also about state-owned tenders participation. This is an open information. Everybody can find this information and get this information about any company from the legal authorities. Of course, this is done in the Russian language, but take a little bit of time and maybe just a little bit of budget to check this information. How do your competitors feel themselves in the Russian market? What was their turnover for the last year? And then, voila, you see the market potential for your particular products. What is important to check when you are looking at the market in terms of competitors? You need and must check the local competitors too, the local manufacturers of the specific products or projects or suppliers of services. Why this is so important? Because if you are working in the area of industry, electrotechnical, oil and gas, automotive, power supply, etc., etc. And in other words, if you are working with state-owned enterprises, the issue if you do have the local competitors is very critical. In Russia, since 2014, we do have a special law which called import substitution law. The name of the law is 188 federal law, and that describes the rule of purchasing for any state-owned enterprise. The content of this law recommend and highly recommend the state-owned companies to purchase locally produced goods, the goods which were produced and manufactured in Russia. That is why we are always checking in the first term if there are any local competitors. Because if, for instance, you are a company from Germany, from France, from Finland, from US, and you are aiming to work with the state-owned enterprises, you need to know how to deal with local manufacturers, if there are any. So if there are no local competitors, you are in a very strong positions, in a very good, and there are no big limits to enter the Russian region. But if you found out that there are local companies who supply similar products, the next step you need to do before investing any further time or money, you need to research these local manufacturers and compare very carefully your products functionality to the functionality of these local producers, because we are coming back to this import substitution law. This law tells that in case the functionality of foreign and locally made product is similar, then Russian state-owned company need to choose a Russian product. So here is one tip. Check the functionality of the local manufacturer and your product. It could never be similar. And when you will find your competitive advantages or your specific niche or your know-how versus the local producers, voila, it will be also possible for you to work with Russian state-owned companies. And this is the first option how to go around this law, because this law, again, this is very important in Russia since 2014, and this is really checked by companies and by government. And the policy of the local government is to lobby the local production, but these do not exclude that the quality is still important. And we all know that in Russian market also, you will meet with European competitors with whom you definitely know how to deal with the local one, and also with the Chinese. And I can tell that in many, many cases, the quality of the Russian products is not always on the top level. Of course, normally the price also is a little bit a little bit or a lot lower than European manufacturers. But there are options to supply really quality and expensive goods to the Russian market also. For this, once again, check local manufacturers, compare your products to their, and very carefully choose your competitive advantage. Only in this case, you will be able to participate in the state-owned tenders and to win them. Then another important thing which you need to check from your side, sanctions. Since 2014, from United States, in the particular industries or for the particular companies, sanctions were implemented to the supplying of goods from US and from Europe, sometimes to Russia. In your particular market vertical, you need to check, does this really affects your company? If the situation is that yes, it affects, and you as a company from United States, or you do have very strong relations with the United States or office there, etc., then a supply of a particular product to particular companies might be a little bit limited, especially if we are talking about any industrial goods or services or components. The limitation is that you will not be able to supply to the military sector, for instance. And this is not a very good thing, but not very bad as well, because except the military sector, you have a huge part of the market which just belongs to the civil applications. And there are no limitations in the sanctions to work with these companies. And another thing which I strongly recommend to check before you go actually to Russia, certification. We all know that there are different standards in the markets. ISO, DIN, AGMA, Lloyd Register for the marine industry. But in Russia, of course, we have our own certification. Very often it is GOST, but not always. For instance, for the marine and shipbuilding industry in Russia, there is a special marine register, and for many other market verticals also in Russia, you need to have the local certification or authorization. So this point should be checked specifically for each particular market vertical. So let's talk about the options for business development in Russia. In general words, I may say that in Russia we do not have a big differences in terms of approach for business development from other part of the world. So in general, there are two options: whether you use channel sales, I mean resellers, agents, distributors, value-added resellers, OEM channel, or you sell directly, whether online or with your direct subsidiary in the Russian market. It very much depends on the product, of course. If you have a B2C product priced not very high, say up to, I don't know, up to $50 or up to 100 US dollars, maybe a good option could be to sell online. But in this case, you need to have the local partner also, because Russian custom clearance system is sometimes a little bit complicated, and the if you have the local partners, the local company, they will be able to help you with this. So then it depends. If you have the mass market product, ready to go product for B2B, for instance, then in the current economic conditions, maybe the best option to enter Russian market would be to choose a channel sales and to really find a local qualified partner with the access to the target audience, with the technical experience in your particular vertical, and with the English speaking language, and with the import and logistic and custom clearance facilities. Every company estimates the risks, investments, and budgets. And of course, in the current economic conditions, to set up a subsidiary in a different country, it's very risky, to be honest. So if we're talking about the Russian market, channel sales are developed on a very good level in almost every vertical, whether is it B2B or whether it is B2C. It is possible to find companies who are really specializing in supplying, installation, servicing this particular type of goods and services. However, in some cases, direct sales are critical. If you have custom-made products, customized, very specific, very expensive. If we are talking about a project which are priced over 1 million euro, then besides the partners, you might really need the local persons who are taking care of your interest, and that should be part of your company. Sometimes when we are working with our clients, we suggest a combination of these two schemes, and we recruit partners, sales channel partners, for faster access to customers, for some service and technical support, for the logistic and custom clearance, but also we recommend to recruit a Russian native person positioned in the Russian market, placed in the Russian market for negotiations with the key accounts, for coordinating partners, and for being your eyes, mouth, and hands here locally in Russia. That's not necessarily, and this is another good tip from our experience, it's not necessarily you need to legally open a representative office in Russia. Again, that's very expensive, very risky, and very complicated in terms of the bureaucracy, close borders, etc. But just if you have really complicated product and you want to keep a direct control on what's going on in Russia, just get one single person with a good sales skills and with a good negotiation skills who will be responsible uh, to you about the Russian market. Let's consider a little bit a typical mistakes which I have saw from the companies when they are starting to develop their business in Russia. I have two columns here. The first column describes the really kind of mistakes and things I would never recommend to do in Russia. First, one of my favorite one, managing Russia through European reseller. Very often I hear such things that, Baltic countries are really close to Russia. Okay, not to Russia, but not to the northwest part of Russia. The rest of Russia is, wide, very, very long. But sometimes some companies consider that they can manage Russia from Poland or from Czech Republic or from I don't know, Estonia or Latvia or Lithuania. In some cases, I saw that the company trying to manage Russian market through a reseller in Poland or through reseller in Latvia, for instance. This will never work. These are completely different regions, countries, mentalities, and languages. And I know that many companies, some companies in Eastern Europe or in Baltic countries, they told that no problem, we will manage also Russia. Just believe me, this not works. For Russia, you need to have local Russian sales channel partners, local Russian resellers. The market is really huge. So please take some time to find and to recruit the local reseller. What is working, by the way? Working when you have the reseller in Russia, and Russian reseller is covering CIS countries like Kazakhstan, Belarus. In Ukraine, we have some different situation now, so better to establish a separate reseller there. But Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and these kind of former USSR countries, this is possible to cover from Russia. But definitely it is not possible to cover the Russian market from other European resellers. Russian companies really, really hate it. What is also I would recommend not to do in Russia, to divide Russian market by regions. Very often I hear this suggestion from customers when they are talking, okay, we will recruit this reseller for Northwest region, for St. Petersburg and around. This reseller we will recruit for Moscow and Central region, Another reseller we will find for Siberia, etc. This is not working in Russia. I know this might work in Germany, but not here. Russia is very centralized market. I would say 80% of the companies they are more or less concentrated in Moscow central region or northwest region. Of course, we do have a production plants and different market verticals in other regions. But what I'm trying to tell is that Russian resellers and Russian companies, they are used to sell everywhere. They are selling all over the country, mostly. And this is a very big limitation to them. They really do not like it to be limited just by some particular territory. Russian resellers, they prefer and they will insist to be able to sell all over the country. This is very normal, very typical for Russia. My favorite thing, never give exclusivity in Russia. Never, never, never. I have heard a lot of complaints and um, disappointment from my customers and prospects who provided an exclusivity to some priority partner and then got nothing. Well, some companies will ask you about exclusivity. Some will even push you to give them an exclusivity. Do not do it. First of all, normally this is possible to go around this requirement in the discussion. But if the company insists, better decline. These do not position a potential reseller as a really good one. If the reseller is good, they are sure about their customers and they are really sure about their competences, and then they will be able to provide you a result and sales. Practically and very easy how you can avoid this discussion if they will appear when you will talk to the Russian potential partners. Suggest them instead of exclusivity, suggest them deal protection and forecasting. And here you will get two benefits for yourselves. First of all, how does this work? In this case, you will ask your resellers in Russia to forecast you for each end customer. Of course, this works not for the mass products, but just for some, projects or big products, expensive products. So they will report you with whom they are discussing the deal. So they will need to send you the name of the end customer. And then in response, you will be able to protect this deal, especially for this partner. Of course, legally, you cannot limit other companies to participate in the tender when the deal will be ready to tender. But what you can do, you can provide to this partner who is really doing all the job to prepare the deal a special price, and if some other companies in the final stage will ask you for a quote, you will just be able to provide them a price much higher. And in this situation, you will be clear and transparent and honest with your resellers, and you will protect their time, their efforts, and their work for the project. Because the worst thing for reseller in any vertical is that they did all the job for the deal or for the market development. For instance, they did a marketing, PR, they did all the negotiations and communications and meeting with the prospect. And then when finally the prospect is ready to purchase, what is normally happening in B2B sector at least, they send their request to the purchasing department, and purchasing department of the end customer start to request all the potential suppliers about the price. And then here, a lot of resellers who did all the job, they just lose their deal, and they get really disappointed. So two things: never give exclusivity, because that's your risk and that's your time, and you do not know these companies from the beginning. And if they will push you for exclusivity, suggest deal protection and forecasting system. This works quite well in Russia. And of course, finding and recruiting sales partners is just the first step. Then you definitely need to be in constant contact with them. Never leave them alone. Provide a proper support. And what is also important in Russia, the speed of feedback. When they ask you some questions, normally that means that they needed an answers yesterday. Russian market is very fast. Be ready for this and be ready to answer the requests of the prospect clients or partners in a very fast way. And then the second column is the question marks for Russia. These are the things which I normally hesitate about starting business like this in Russia. Many of my customers, they try to start a business from exhibiting. In the current situation with coronavirus, it's just not possible. The borders are closed, the exhibiting are mostly cancelled. But for future, when you are just starting the market, what is the reason for you to go and to spend a lot of money for exhibiting and for the booths and for the travel expenses? In Russia, most of the people, they speak just Russian. English sometimes is on a very poor level. And so you come to an exhibition, you have an expensive booth there, you have yourself and your colleagues speaking English, or maybe even interpreter, not knowing your products, and there is a very high um, level of luck if you will meet the right person or persons there in the exhibition or not. The latest trend also before the coronavirus in Russia was that less and less people went actually to exhibitions because everybody know each other. Russian market is a market of networking. So I'm really concerned about doing an exhibitions in Russia, at least from the very beginning. Instead, if you are working with the partners, take some time and a little bit of budget to search and to find all the companies who are working in your type of the business vertical in Russia, and just contact all these companies. This will give you at least 95% guarantee that you have talked to everyone and that you have did the best you could to find the proper partner. By the way, one important thing that this should be done in Russian language. Again, the level of the English is still quite low in Russia. When you are searching partner, when you are starting business, not all, but at least the minimum of marketing materials, minimum, and the first introduction are better to be in the Russian language. So then the question mark, which I see from time to time, is to hire a private agent, not a sales partner, not actually a legal entity, but a physical person who sounds to have a great experience in the Russian market and in this particular vertical and blah, blah, blah. That's a big question mark from my point of view, because the person should be dedicated and the person should have the facilities. And in Russia, especially, the critical issue for the physical goods is custom clearance and logistic. And to be able to do the custom clearance on the Russian market, definitely you need to have the legal entity to be able to do all the paperwork. Another question mark. Many of companies whom I talked to about their business development in Russia, they have a bad experience in Russia because they have recruited a reseller or an agent, and they are not good. Well, okay, but it happens. That's a normal situation that one salesperson is good, another salesperson is not good, and they all require a lot of attention. Please return to our discussion to poor support and terms of answering. You need to try. You need not to stop, but try another reseller, give them some time, support them, and train them as much as you can, and do not be disappointed if you hear nothing after the signed contract. It could happen. It just means that we need to continue and maybe to consider to check other options in the market. So that's not really a sign that you tried with one reseller or partner. This did not work, and now this does not mean that Russian market do not exist for you. It can just mean that the salesperson were not really good. And again, going back to the support, do not leave them by their own. The good resellers or good salesperson, they need to be trained. Now, most of the companies, they moved to the online trainings in the current conditions. So they need to be aware of your product, motivate them to send you all possible requests. Try from the very beginning to really involve them in communications, in training, in testing, and be close to them. Be close to your new local partners, especially in the beginning of your cooperation. So now I talked a lot about the channel sales, and I hope that some points were useful for you. We are going out of time now, so I need to finish our discussion. Here we can see just some of our customers in Europe. We are working very actively with Germany, Switzerland, France, Finland, other European countries. And definitely, if you have any questions about Russian market and CIS market, I will be more than happy to help and to tell you more information about our region, and definitely to answer all your questions, maybe in a short conference call, or just drop me an email, and I will be really happy to discuss your particular situation. At the moment, I would like to thank you for your attention and thank you for your interest. I'm staying in touch by phone, email, Skype. So please feel free to contact. I wish you a good rest of the day and hope to see you someday. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Take care.